Is the Trump economic boom enough to doom the blue wave in the midterm elections this year? Let's ask Republican Congressman Keith Rothfus of Pennsylvania. He sits on the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman, great to see you.
Michael, good evening.
GDP is kind of a wonky number. Will you be able to sell it to your constituents? If so, how?
Understand that this is just one number. This is a very good number, but it's on top of many other good numbers that we've been seeing. You now have more job postings than job seekers. You have the lowest unemployment in a very long time, particularly when you're looking at minority unemployment. The numbers just keep getting better. When you look at the tax cuts and what they're doing, putting more money in people's pockets, making our companies more competitive in a global marketplace, having lower tax rates, for example, for American businesses than businesses in Mexico, than businesses in China. This is the place to do business. This has never been a better time to look for a job. These are great numbers that came out today. And when you couple it with the regulatory reform we've been doing, this has been building for the last year and a half since the new administration came in. When we ran on these policies in the 2016 election, and we can run on them again and continue this expansion. The voters will have a choice this November. Do you want more jobs and higher wages? Right. Or would you rather have more government and higher taxes, which is what the Democrats are selling?
How much credit do you give to the tax cuts?
You give significant credit to it, but really it's also the regulatory changes. You know, I remember reading a study last year that because of the overregulation in the financial sector alone, there are 650,000 fewer small businesses created over the last 8 years than otherwise could have been. That's 6.5 million jobs. The same economist talked about there being a two-speed economy. The big folks the big businesses were just fine. It's those small to medium-sized businesses that struggled for years to get access to capital. They are now starting to get that capital. The tax cuts are helping them. They're looking to add workers. Your previous segment talked about people trying to find workers. Right. I see that across Western Pennsylvania. There are jobs out there. We have to get people trained. The career and technical education legislation that we passed this week, all very good to help this economy continue growing, to spread that prosperity.
President Trump was eager to say today he doesn't think this is a one-shot deal.
This isn't a one-time shot. I happen to think we're going to do extraordinarily well in our next report, next quarter. I think it's going to be outstanding. I won't go too strong because then if it's not quite as good, you'll not let me forget it. But I think the numbers are going to be outstanding.
Is there a risk, Congressman, of drawing too much from this one impressive number?
Well, that's why I don't draw it all from one impressive number, because as I said before, there are other numbers. You look at the unemployment rate, you look at the number of people that are looking, that are able to find jobs, the number of postings out there. This is all very good. Business optimism, consumer confidence that's out there. There are any number of pieces of data that are all pointing towards a strong economy. And I certainly see that when I'm talking with voters out here in Western Pennsylvania.
As we look ahead to midterm elections now, about 100 days away, how will people feel a strong GDP?
I think that they're going to see more money in their pocket, understand where we've been the last 8 years with the prior to this administration, the slowest economic recovery since the Great Depression that was out there. I remember on the Financial Services Committee having Chairwoman Yellen come in and talk about the persistent economic headwinds. Well, those headwinds are abated because of the regulatory reform that we've done, the tax reform that we've done. This is all very good news for the American small business community, the American consumer.
How optimistic are you, Congressman, for your fellow Republicans heading into those midterms?
I think when we're here on just beginning the August recess, we're going to be able to go and talk to our voters and see what's happening out there. And then we also want to be continuing to do things that the American people look us to do. We want to secure the border. We want to take care of the immigration. We had a very good bill a couple of weeks ago. We came up short. We're going to continue to work on that. People want the border secured. We have drugs pouring across that border. We need to know who's coming into this country. The bill we had a couple of weeks ago was a very strong bill, and I'm hoping that we can move forward on that. We got to continue the regulatory reform efforts because this is really helping the economy and the energy sector. This is all good news for the American people. And when the people have the choice in November remember, do you really want to go back to a more stagnant economy or a healthier economy? The hardworking taxpayers are going to say, we want a healthy economy, we want more jobs, we want higher wages, and we don't want to pay more taxes. That's the choice that Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are offering right now because they want to cancel the tax cut, which means canceling things like opportunity zones. There's a great part of this tax bill that looks at communities across this country that have been starved of capital for decades, communities right here in western Pennsylvania with the Opportunity Zone program, drawing private sector capital into these communities. That's good news for those communities.
So if you keep the GOP majority in November, where could this economy go potentially over the next 2 years?
I think you look at the economy that we had in the 1980s, you look at the economy you had in the 1990s, sustained growth rates, 3%, 4%, 5% in some quarters. You don't want to go backwards and continue to do what we did during the Obama administration, over-regulate this economy, having people in Washington, D.C. pick the winners and the winners and losers, have the people in Washington, D.C. micromanage this aspect of the economy or that aspect of the economy. Right. That's not the way the economy is supposed to work. You want to have a freer economy that leads to a healthier economy, more opportunity for people. The Democrats are having a problem right now. You have primaries, for example, in New York, where you have people calling themselves Democratic Socialists. You take a look at the socialist website, they say they want to transition to a socialist society where the means and resources of production are democratically and socially controlled. Well, that's a recipe for paralysis of an economy. So, no, we want to continue to moving in the direction of a freer economy where there's going to be more opportunity for people.
Congressman Keith Rothfus of the great state of Pennsylvania, thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you.